right and left takes the box.
Oikein erityismaa vähän.
The medium right one opens down.
Tiedä mitä haluaa tänne tiedä muutsi ras.
As day breaks here in South Wales, it's hello and welcome to the Network Q Rally of Great Britain. Arguably the most gripping rally of the year, as this is the title decider. Only 2 points cover the top three. Colin McRae from Tommy Mackinnon and Richard Burns. But let's not forget about Ford's Carlos Sainz. He can still win this championship, however he is the long shot, back in fourth. Well, this is proof that a World Championship doesn't come easy. It's just gone 7 in the morning, and these guys were hard at it less than 12 hours ago at the Super Special stage in Cardiff. And speaking of that Super Special stage, Ford's Colin McRae struck the first blow. So the Scot got the start he was looking for, winning the Cardiff Super Special stage from Solberg and Sainz. Two notable omissions from that front page though. Richard Burns 2.5 seconds back in 10th and Tommy Mackinnon way back in 18th. It's an early start to this 3-day marathon, and with first service now out of the way, the cars hit the Welsh Forest. Tiff, Needell and Mark James take up the action.
The day's opener was the 14 kilometres of St Gwyno, and at 8:30 in the morning, the sun was still low in the sky. As championship leader, Colin McRae was first through in his Ford Focus, and he was fastest. Tommy Mackinnon was running in the Scots wheel tracks, but flat in 6th gear, he must have gone somewhere McRae hadn't.
Mikä siihen löi? Ei oo totta. Ei oo totta.
Something lurking in the edge of the road had ripped the Mitsubishi's suspension apart, and Mackinnon's rally was over. The only problem for Richard Burns was that he was 5 seconds slower than his arch rival. But Carlos Sainz was the second of the Ford Championship contenders to hit trouble, with a punctured tyre slowing him to 16th fastest, but more importantly bursting a brake pipe. A temporary fix before the next stage would see him check in 4 minutes late, which earned him a 40-second penalty to add to his woes. Harry Rovanpera is the leading Peugeot driver in the championship, but his main task now is to secure the manufacturer's crown for his French employer. The Finn was 7th fastest, with teammates Marcus Gronholm 2nd and Didier Auriol 3rd. Petter Solberg's rally was even shorter than Mackinnon's. He and co-driver Phil Mills ground to a halt just 5 kilometres into the stage.
Supervision from Phil.
1.5 pressure.
We've got fuel pressure at 1.5. We're just crawling through the stage at 20 kph.
The reason? Apparently the official FIA fuel rig had pumped their Subaru full of air instead of petrol. Freddie Loix was 13th fastest in the surviving Mitsubishi, with Skoda's Armin Schwartz 15th, and his teammate Bruno Thierry 10th. Estonian Marko Martin was 6th fastest in his last rally for Subaru before he joined the Ford team, with Toshi Arai 18th in the 4th Works Subaru. Alistair McRae was an impressive 5th fastest on his last outing for Hyundai, while teammate Kenneth Eriksson was 12th, but Piero Liatti in the 3rd Hyundai was another early retirement with a broken clutch. Mark Higgins was settling into the 3rd Works Ford nicely, 9th fastest on his debut for the factory team, but there's still a long way to go.
Rallying can deliver exhilarating highs, but also the most crushing of lows. Andrew Cowan, that certainly wasn't in the plan.
Well, it's certainly disappointing. You know, we were looking forward to having a good run. Tommy was well happy with the car and a good recce, good conditions. The forests were drier than we've seen for years and very predictable, and we certainly didn't expect this.
Tommy Mäkinen and Mitsubishi, you usually think of success. This is a disappointing end to his Mitsubishi days.
Of course it is. You know, I mean, we all feel pretty low. You know, we put a big effort into giving Tommy a great send-off, and you know, we wanted to win this championship for Mitsubishi, and there it is. It's all gone.
Sad for everybody. It is last event, and we did hard work after Australia to improve our car, and it felt good, and it was very good confidence for the rally, but it seems to be sometimes very difficult.
Stage 3 at just over 10 kilometres was the shortest of the day, and the Peugeots began to up the ante. Marcus Gronholm was fastest, with Didier Auriol just 2.3 seconds behind him. Richard Burns also upped his pace to go third fastest, with Colin McRae back in fourth, his lead cut to just 1/5 of a second. The pressure was on. Harry Rovanperä was 5th fastest in his Peugeot and moved up to 7th. While Carlos Sainz was an impressive 6th fastest with no front brakes, but he was now down in 21st overall, leaving Alistair McRae to lead the chase of the top 4.
Stage 4, Rhondda, is one of the classics. 26.47 kilometres of slippery Welsh mud, lots of twists and turns, but also some very quick straights. By 9:30, a weak sun was starting to shine, but it was still bitterly cold. Little did the hardy spectators know what the stage would bring. Fastest for the second stage in a row was the Peugeot of the reigning world champions, Marcus Gronholm and his co-driver, Timo Rautiainen. The pair had always been expected to shine, and they weren't disappointing. They now led the rally. Second fastest was the identical car of Didier Auriol and Denis Giraudet on their last rally for Peugeot. Third quickest were Richard Burns and Robert Reid. Burns had apparently told the Subaru management that he'd intended to take things fairly easily on leg 1, preferring to play the waiting game and see what misfortunes befell his championship rivals. With Mäkinen out and Sainz losing so much time, that looked to have been a smart move. Equal third with Burns was Harry Rovanperä in another Peugeot, while 5th fastest was Carlos Sainz, by now back up to 13th overall, but still over a minute and 20 seconds down on the leader. 6th, and clearly enjoying his last outing for Skoda, was Armin Schwarz. He moves to Hyundai next season, replacing Alistair McRae, 7th on stage 4, who heads for Mitsubishi to partner Francois Delacour. Mark Higgins, taking Delacour's drive for this one event, was 8th fastest on the stage and lay an impressive 6th overall. Ford's team leaders, meanwhile, had been impressive all morning. McRae and Grist had chosen to push for the lead from the word go, although Gronholm obviously had similar ideas. On board the Focus, the determination and commitment are clear, as is the stunning pace through the Rhondda stage.
6 left, 70. Right tightens to 6- over crest cut. 70. Right tightens to 4+. Into turn slow, 3 left. 200. Right tightens to turn 2+. 30. 6 crest, 120. Left tightens to 4+, opens. 70.
14 kilometres into the stage, however, it all goes wrong for the pair. The pace note to listen for is right tightens to 5-.
Into 6 crest, 70, 6 left tightens, and right tightens to 5-. 30, 5 left plus, cut, into 6.
Both driver and co-driver are clearly stunned. McRae apparently slow to grasp what's happened. It's clear from the roof that the car's been badly damaged, and so their rally and possibly their championship bid are over. Looking at the accident again, there appears to be nothing in the ditch, but a stone is enough to flip the car into a violent series of rolls, ending Colin's rally in the most spectacular way imaginable. Amateur video of the crash is, if anything, even more spectacular than the onboard footage. Colin himself goes back to see just what he hit, but it hardly mattered. The damage had been done. His great rival for the world title drives past, but Richard Burns doesn't even seem to notice the battered Focus.
100, flat right, tightens maybe 20, flat right minus 80.
However, it's quickly clear that he had spotted the car and he loses concentration briefly.
Flat left.
Luckily, only a few seconds were lost and the Subaru made it safely to the stage finish, where Robert Reid confirmed that the pair did indeed take in the aftermath of the accident.
Hell.
So with McRae joining Mackinnon on the growing list of retirements, this was how the leaderboard stood after stage 4. Gronholm leading from Oriel, Burns now third. Waiting at service in Velindre was Leigh Diffey.
Extraordinary events this morning, bordering on unbelievable, with the top 2 championship contenders out at such an early stage. And this is certainly something Ford didn't bank on, a vacant McRae pit. McRae was extremely fortunate to be able to walk away from the stage 4 accident. However, he was later taken to hospital for precautionary scans and a general checkover. The initial fears were that Colin may have re-injured the area on the left side of his face that was damaged in the high-speed Corsica crash last year.
I made a mistake, I cut a corner just a bit too much and there was a hole in the inside and it flipped the car upside down.
Desperately disappointing for you.
Yeah, it is, but you know, we were trying to win the championship and things like that can happen. I'm just sorry for the whole team, it was so near, but we haven't got it again.
No warning at all. I mean, it just happened. I mean, you're talking of probably speeds in probably very close to sort of like 100 miles an hour at this point. So, I mean, it happened very, very quickly, and it was quite surprising to get out. And poor old spectator beside said, God, I was absolutely terrified. I said, you ought to try it from my seat.
Colin was in a fantastic position, leading the rally from the front, which is obviously what he had to do. But sadly, 14.4 kilometres into the fourth stage, he cut a right-hand corner, which was quite a hole in there, a dip, and apparently just launched him very high into the air. And then they think the car rolled about 4 or 5 times with extensive damage. They're both okay, but that's the championship. Should we say out the window?
To try and drag a positive out of this, though, maybe the championship's not over yet. There's plenty of pressure, different pressure on Burns.
Well, there is for sure, but there's a lot less pressure on him than there was about half an hour ago. So. Yeah, it could be a long 3 days for us. I mean, yes, anything can happen. As obviously Tommy's gone, and now Colin's gone. I suppose anything can happen. Solberg's retired with a mechanical failure. I think it just shows you how difficult this event is.
Overall, it was a nightmare morning for Ford, as Carlos Sainz had a troublesome start to the day, and his title chances were looking even more slender.
It was really not going very well. First for Colin, and then I don't know why, puncture in the first stage. The EMI didn't work, so I have to finish the stage in the rim, and then I broke the tire broke one pipe of the brake. Tried to repair it, lost 4 minutes in the tank control, and then I have to do the last 2 stages only with the rear brakes.
But no such problems for Richard Burns. He may not have been leading the rally, but his day was going to plan, and he knew exactly what was required.
Of course, now all I have to do is finish in 4th place, but still, to finish in top 4 in a World Championship rally isn't all that easy. So I'll keep on trying my best and see what happens.
And the most relaxed driver in the service park was rally leader Marcus Gronholm. The lanky Finn is handing over his world #1 status this weekend, but all the signs are there, he'll do it in style.
Stage 5 was the 13 kilometres of Kraken. And Marcus Gronholm continued to set the pace. The reigning world champion determined to end his frustrating season in style. With his brakes fixed, Carlos Sainz was second and moved up to 11th overall, but he was 7.5 seconds slower than the flying Finn.
Rasante fondo, acaba izquierda rápida, poco tarde se cierra. Dos.
Harry Rovanperä made the top 3 places for the first time, beating teammate Didier Auriol by a scant 5th of a second. 12.5 seconds slower than Gronholm, Richard Burns had obviously backed off straight away, but he had to keep an eye behind him because he still had to finish 4th, and 2 fellow British drivers would be quite happy to ruin his day. Colin McRae's brother Alistair in 5th.
Flat left, over small crest, 30.
And his new teammate Mark Higgins, who was continuing to impress in 6th on his one-off outing in the Works Ford. But for Marco Martin, the rally went from bad to terminal.
Start from the back, lads, please. Whoa, you're on fire again. Come on, switch up, get it.
Front button. Bring your fire extinguisher to the front.
We don't know yet exactly what happened, but I'm sure it's the engine because it just got off and nothing we could do. It seems like it's oil all over the place, so it's probably something really broken.
It was more of the same on stage 6, the 17.5 kilometres of halfway. Although this time it was a Peugeot 123, with Gronholm quickest again.
Oikein helppo, 7, oikein jouhea, 8 ja vaserin tiukka ja oikein pitkä hidas. Vasen nopea.
Didier Auriol was second. And Harry Rovanperä third. Richard Burns equalled the third Peugeot's time to remain third overall.
Braking flat left and flat left. Titans 40, fast left. Titans long crest 40, flat right plus cut, puddle maybe blind. 50. Braking flat left and flat left. Titans 40, fast left.
Carlos Sainz was 5th fastest to move ahead of Mark Higgins into 6th overall, but he was now over a minute and a half off the lead, and if Burns were to retire, the Spaniard has to win to take the title. After 4 stages in a row, Gronholm's lead was an impressive 25.5 seconds, while Burns was still 12 seconds short of dropping to 4th, and the rest were being left further behind.
Peugeot's #1, Marcus Gronholm, entered the second service the same as the first, in front. And there's a noticeable difference in the way he's driving at this year's Network Q in comparison to his conservative style of 12 months ago.
Yes, I am going a little bit faster, yes, of course. But okay, now there is not a good lead, but a small lead. But it's very easy to do a mistake here, so we still have to push a bit to keep the concentration and no mistakes.
Didier, I'd imagine you're enjoying the day.
Okay, it's a good day for the moment, but really not easy. It's I say it's never easy. I make a good time, but I really need to push myself, and I sometimes I don't really like. It's quite very fast in this forest. I'm not a precise really.
No major work needed in the Subaru camp either. Burns and Reed followed the 2 Peugeots back to base. But with the weight of the rally world now firmly on their shoulders, it was obvious thoughts of World Championship success were creeping in. Robert, it's all going to plan today?
Yeah, it is. It's difficult. I don't know if it's more difficult or less difficult than it was this morning, but those last two stages have been very slippy, so just trying to go at a speed that is fast enough but not too fast.
What are the thoughts that are occupying your mind?
Just the next corner.
That simple?
Well, yeah, it is, because all we can do, as it was at the start of the rally, all we can do is do our job as best we can and try not to make any mistakes.
What's the feeling within the team at the moment? What's David Lapworth said to you?
It's going to be a long 2.5 days.
Subaru was smiling, and so too Alistair McRae. And why wouldn't he be? The Hyundai pilot was in the top 5 and in the points.
The conditions are good. There's not a lot of deep mud around, but it's just a slime of mud on top, and it makes it very slippy. So good conditions, but difficult.
I'm sure your goal is maybe over the next 2 days just to nudge up a couple of positions and put Burns behind you.
That would be nice. Difficult, but nice.
But Hyundai's happiness turned to concern. A steering rack problem surfaced and the team were left racing the clock. After some frantic repair, McRae made it to time control with just 6 seconds to spare.
Stages 7 and 8 were run in the Brechfa Forestry Complex north of Carmarthen in West Wales, with the first of the pair, Brechfa itself, run just as darkness was falling. Quickest through the 29.8 kilometres was Marcus Gronholm, his 5th fastest stage time of the day. But the next stage, Trauskoid, saw the Finn escaped unscathed when driver briefly became passenger.
Jatkuu vasen täysliukas. Vasen täysliukas ja nyppy täys. 8 ja huomio vasen.
Not so lucky was his teammate Didier Auriol, 5th quickest on Brechfa, but around 1.5 minutes were lost in Trauskoid after he left the road. The day's last stage would also demand a minute or so extra of Carlos Sainz's time.
Esperando mucho para uno corto, izquierda buena menos, izquierda y mucho ras. Ahí va, ahí va. Ostras. Ostras.
Fastest on stage 8 was Harry Rovanpera, and with Auriol's problem, the Finn would end the day ahead of the Frenchman. Of the 3 British drivers in the top 7, Richard Burns benefited most from the misdemeanours in the Brechfa complex. Helped by his love of driving in fog, the Subaru driver was second fastest on both stages, and so will start leg 2 in second place, behind Gronholm. Alistair McRae's Hyundai Accent is 6th tonight, over 2.5 minutes behind Gronholm, but a comfortable 1 minute and 4 seconds ahead of the man in 7th place, Mark Higgins, seen here catching and passing Roman Cresta's Skoda, to the obvious delight of the spectators. 2001 has been a frustrating year for the former British champion, whose programme fell victim to the foot and mouth outbreak, so a good result this weekend will be some comfort. So after leg 1, Gronholm leads Burns by nearly 37 seconds, with Rovanpera, Auriol, Sainz and Alistair McRae filling the remaining point-scoring positions. As the leaders returned to Velindre for the day's last service halt, they found Leigh Diffey lying in wait for them.
This rally is pretty tough at the best of times. Tell us about those stages in the dark.
In the dark, it's really always here awful, because there is also nearly always fog and difficult to see the corners, and when you have the mud places, brakings are slippy, so it's really difficult.
It's the same for everybody, so it is very hard to see where you're going, obviously, very hard to feel the grip, quite muddy and slippery in those stages. And also foggy, so all kinds of things.
You kind of revel in those conditions though, don't you? You're making ground, climbing up.
Yeah, we can do. I know that what I do in those conditions is good enough to do good times, so that's makes you confident to go into those stages like that.
It's been a difficult day for you, hasn't it?
A little bit too much today, but well, at least we are here, and tomorrow we try again.
Looking forward, what are your thoughts about the rest of the rally? Can you still win this rally? Can you still win the championship?
I think it's more or less over, but until the rally is not finished, you have to keep pushing.
Richard gained a couple of positions over those last few stages. He's sitting in second now. How are you feeling about the rally overall?
Okay, if I can continue as I did today, tomorrow, so it would be. I think it will be okay. And Richard is not trying to catch me. I think if I can go fast, I hope so.
And overall, is Marcus within your reach?
I really don't care.
Day one of the Network Q Rally of Great Britain is a day that Ford would rather forget. However, it's a day that Colin McRae will never forget. Our motorsport correspondent Jonathan Ledyard caught up with Colin in Cardiff several hours after the accident.
First of all, how are you?
Well, obviously, very, very disappointed. It's probably is the biggest disappointment of my career to date.
But is your body all right? Because you were quite badly shaken. I haven't seen the in-car footage. That was some of the most vicious shaking I've seen in a long time.
Yeah, no, obviously, yeah, I'm going to be pretty stiff tomorrow, but I had a problem with vision in my left eye after the car came to rest, so obviously I've been to the hospital and had that checked out and everything's okay, so just going to be a bit stiff tomorrow, that's all.
How did the car come to be launched like that? How did it happen?
It was just, there was two corners, a right and a left, very fast, 5th and 6th gear, and we had a cut on the left, and I sort of misheard it and started to line the car up for a cut on the right-hander, and realised, but I had enough time to rectify it, but it didn't look that it was, it was going to be that bad, so I continued on the line and probably went maybe 6 inches more than I would have done normally on the inside of the corner. Unfortunately, there was a big hole in the grass, and it caught the inside front wheel and flipped the car over.
And it all happened so quickly, didn't it?
Yeah, well, I could see what was happening. There gets to the point when there's nothing you can do about it.
But having seen the in-car footage, I mean, that is frightening stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's okay. It probably looks quite violent, but it continued. The accident went on for a while, so obviously it slowly takes the energy out of the accident. Every bump you have, it's not as bad as having a severe stop against a tree or something like that.
And now it seems the worst case scenario, doesn't it? You're out of the event. Tommy Mackinnon, the other man you wanted to win, as you might say, if you couldn't, is out, and Richard Burns is on course seemingly for the championship.
Yeah, I mean, okay, Richard's still got 2.5 days of rallying to do. He's not going to have a lot of pressure. He could finish in 4th place one-handed. The way he's been driving at the moment, he's been driving very well. So, all we can hope for is that he has some kind of problem. But it looks like that he's going to get it, provided he has no mechanical problems.
But I'm sure you'd like to be in his shoes. I mean, it's not a difficult situation to be in a sense, is it? I mean, just to keep the car going, there's a danger of concentration?
I don't think in that situation, it's obviously an easier situation than it is when you're having to fight 100% for it. But yeah, I mean, that is the only thing. You've got 2.5 days of rallying to do, and obviously the concentration is going to be very difficult.
You say this is the biggest disappointment of your career. What about for the whole team too? Because this is 11 months' work, which has just ended in a ditch, really.
Yeah, I mean, okay, I feel terrible about it, and obviously I feel very sorry for the whole team as well, who have put a hell of a lot of effort in right from the start of '99. We were so close, but that's the sport. It can be, the highs are very high, but it can also be a very cruel sport, and this year it has been very cruel at the moment, but it's not finished yet. Richard's still got to win the rally, or he's still got to finish in the top 4. Carlos is still going, so things could happen.
The day began in the dark, so I guess it's appropriate that it finishes in the dark. It's been an amazing day, a day that rocked the rally world. The top 2 in the championship being knocked out and left in the unenviable position of other drivers determining their fate. This battle is far from over though, and the action continues tomorrow with day 2. Hope you can join us.